we are discussing Israel's covenant and a particular treaty I almost try to pronounce, but the only Arabic word that I know really well is hakifati, which means utter nonsense, which works in a lot of things. But a man who has spent his life understanding Islam, knowing how to and actively ministering to Muslims, not only in America, but around the world and behind enemy lines. Joel Richardson, tell us about this treaty, which is... this is your bailiwick to pronounce this.
Sure. So in the life of Muhammad, when he was sort of early on, I guess I'll say starting his cult, he had been kicked out of the city of Mecca. Again, Mecca is where all of the pagans at that time used to take every month, 1 month a year. It's called Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. They would make pilgrimage up to the shrine in the middle of the city. And so this is called Hajj. So every Ramadan, they would make Hajj. Well, Muhammad had got kicked out of Mecca by the most dominant tribe in the area, the most powerful tribe, which were the Qurayshis. And he had been kicked out up to Medina, a city about 200 miles to the north. And so he took a bunch of his folks. He said, we're going to go make Hajj. We're going to go make pilgrimage. They put on the pilgrimage clothes, which means that you don't have weapons on you. That's the idea. And they were going up, and they got stopped by the Qurayshis. And the Qurayshis abused, they made fun of Muhammad. At that time, Muhammad had about 1,200 men, okay? So the Muslims, the Muslim movement was about 1,200 men, you know, add wives and families, a few thousand people, you know. And they basically said, what are you doing? He said, we're going up to make Hajj. We're going up to make pilgrimage. And they said, no, you're not. And he said, but I prophesied to my people that I was, and I want to be a prophet. And they go, well, too bad. And they go, so here's the deal. We're going to make a treaty with you. And this was at the spring of Hudaybiyah. So this becomes known as the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. And the agreement, the tenets of the treaty were this. They said, if any of your people want to leave, you have to let them come back. If any of our people want to become a Muslim, you have to reject them and send them back. So it was thoroughly slanted in favor of the Qurayshis against the Muslims. And they said, but we'll have a 10-year peace treaty. For 10 years, Muhammad agreed. The next day, his two best friends, Abu Bakr and Omar, were very upset with Muhammad. They go, you were shamed in front of all of us. You prophesied that we're going to make Hajj, and now what are you, a false prophet? He goes, no. I said we were going to make Hajj, but did I say this year? You know, which is typical false prophet. You miss the mark. You just draw a new target around your arrow. And he goes, last night Allah revealed to me that this is a great victory. And he was a master, military strategy. I mean, he was brilliant. He goes, from now on, this is what Allah revealed to me. And he claimed to have received a new part of the Quran that night. He said, from now on, anyone that joins us in our raiding of these various villages, he said they're going to get this very substantial portion of the plunder, the booty, the spoil, the female sex slaves, the slaves, you name it. So again, they were about 1,200 men at the time. What they immediately started doing was raiding a series of very wealthy Jewish villages in Arabia. Because Muhammad said, now the Qurayshis, the most powerful tribe in the area, they're not going to mess with us. And he went after the Jews. And one by one, he wiped out these Jewish villages. He would make up some reason to say they did some infraction against him, or one of the people in the village insulted him or something. And so within 2 years, the Muslims went from 1,200 men to 10,000 strong. This is when Muhammad's little cult evolved into becoming a pirate cult of the desert. And they exploded. So after 2 years, Muhammad goes, now we're 10,000 strong. Now we can take on the Qurayshis. He made up some infraction. He said, oh, you guys violated your part of the deal. And he came back and he invaded Mecca. He conquered the Qurayshis. And it's from that point forward that Muhammad was the undisputed ruler of Mecca and really that whole part of Arabia. And this is really when everything changed. From there on out, he was the most powerful. He was incredibly intolerant, etc., etc., etc. And he wiped out all of the Jewish villages. He wiped out all of the Jews in Arabia. Why is this important? Because Muhammad is looked to by Muslims as the perfect man, the perfect example of humanity. Everything that he does is to be emulated. If he puts his shoes on the right foot first, all Muslims put their shoes on the right foot first, etc. So if he is set forth the model from making treaties and then breaking them, specifically for the purpose of becoming stronger, then this is exactly what Muslims today follow as their pattern. Sometimes it's called a hudna, but specifically this is the pattern of the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. When Arafat entered into this agreement in Oslo, all of the Israeli left, Yahoo, this is wonderful, we can trust him, until he was recorded in the Arab media saying, this agreement is simply like the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Those who understood Islam knew exactly what he was talking about.
Right. In the Western world, completely oblivious, and there's no reporters that's going to tell the truth concerning this, just like as we see with CNN. Can't possibly tell the truth. Living in Israel, when you see what they report and what's actually going on, you realize that this is all propaganda, pure propaganda. Right. And so, you know, the America and the American population is really kept in complete darkness about what the Palestinians are doing, and now we're seeing the repercussions.
Exactly. You know, every president comes along and says, we're going to make a treaty with the Palestinians, and this one voice over here says, you can't do that. And they say, well, why not? He says, because you must understand, in the Palestinian territories, they spell treaty R-E-L-O-A-D. It's reload. And they go, oh, okay, I think I'm starting to get it. It's a waste of time. It's foolishness. It wastes everyone's time to try to engage in a treaty with people who believe treaties are only there to become more powerful, ultimately to defeat the Israelis. It's foolishness.